Morning again, Flat Belly fellow travelers and coffee chat people. Just concluded another meeting last night at a coffee chat. A very hot evening for Saskatchewan standards, but still we had, I think, a dozen people out. That was great. Thank you everyone for coming. Just wanted to give a little review of the things that we talked about. Our overall theme was dreams. What are dreams and how can they help us in our lives? We did a similar format to what we did the last meeting, whereas we went around the room, and that took a goodly amount of time actually. We covered probably well over an hour of discussion on what dreams are, and they seem to break down over two main areas. There was the area of the waking dream, of daydream, in terms of how that helps us with clarifying what it is we want in life. And there's the night dream, and that one sort of got left out there with a lot of questions really, because it seemed to be the night dream was more along the lines of what we go through in terms of processing our thoughts throughout the day, and therefore, what we focus on during the day can recur in the night. But with the main focus, though, of the meeting, I think, was more along the lines of the daydream, because that's something that can be consciously directed. But there was a lot of discussion around that. And of course, the daydream broke into ideas like goals, like visualization, and these sorts of extensions of the idea of a dream, of a conscious dream that we set out to have during the day. Now, just a few words on my thoughts on it. In the origin of the word, it's kind of odd actually, the origin of the word dream comes from Old English, joy or music, of all things. Joy I can kind of see, because joy is something that you like, right? And a dream, a daydream especially, is usually along the lines of what you might like. That can be the other way around, but if we're conscious about it, we want something, it would be something joyous perhaps. And it's synonymous with the Latin word somnium. Somnium means to dream essentially in Latin, and it means vision, daydream, or fantasy. It doesn't have to do so much with, according to this, with a night dream. It's a daydream, specifically says daydream. And in the Greek, the word fantasy means to make visible. So that's very interesting, isn't it? It's very much along the lines of what we talked about before, desire and vision. It's basically you could say then that fantasizing in a daydream, we make visible in our imagination our hopes and dreams, right? Because it's what we desire, and we make it visible. Now, just as a connection point here, at the last meeting that we had, we talked about love. And what we noticed was that the underlying tone of all that people had said is that love is something far greater than any one of us can imagine ourselves in terms of our individual aspect. This undefinable, infinite essence, you might want to call it, but yet, which is universally desired. Seems like everybody wants that quality of love in some way. And it's interesting to note that in the origin of words, once again, we talked about the last time, that love is synonymous with desire. And yet desire, we can see, is connected to the fantasy, because the fantasy is of something we desire. So in daydreaming, fantasizing, and desiring, we are really, because we're desiring it, we're in an act of love in a way. Because it's like an attempt that we have naturally to connect with what it is that we would want in a more holistic way. And when I say a more holistic way, from the individual aspect, that would be holistic, would be physiologically, mentally, emotionally, whatever aspects of our life that we can imagine that we have. We want to connect more. So we fantasize of something or dream of something. It's kind of like a wish that we could connect with that and have manifest that in a more real way. So in seeing this nature of desire, this nature of dreaming within us, this nature of daydreaming, we have the saying, so often we're told, go chase your dreams, go for your dreams. It seems like it's an innate nature within us. But when we see that, and when we experience it, we can see the segue that takes place between this topic, dreams, and our last topic, love. Because if and when we fulfill our dreams, we experience the completion in that one aspect anyways, in that one instant, that one example of that love connection, you might say. That connecting with what it is that we would love to connect with. And it makes kind of like an example to us that we can experience the fulfillment of what it is that we want. Why would I say that? Why would I say that it's an example? Because we then observe ourselves moving beyond the could have beens, or the self-doubt, or the doubtfulness that we can reach something, perhaps, to experiencing and witnessing our own natural creativity, in that we actually experience the connection with what we just began dreaming with. That love connection, you might say, we've actually moved from just dreaming about it to manifesting it firsthand. And we all know that there's no better teacher in the world than firsthand experience. Because once we have firsthand experience, nobody can convince us otherwise. There was a gentleman at our meeting shared an example of that, a story about how he had a certain physiological ailment. And he was able to, through his own volition and his own faith in his ability to help himself, that he cured himself of that. And that developed a very convincing faith within him that this was something real. More than just he had the vision and the dream of wanting to have this better physiological condition, and he was able to realize that. Very powerful indeed. That is evidence firsthand. Let's be honest though, just dreaming for the sake of dreaming has its benefits as well. I would say that dreaming can be entertaining. We can basically lie down or walk around and we can dream about things like a movie running in our mind. That can be entertaining. That has value. Just like going to a movie can have value. They can be an escape from life, from the here and now, the troubles that we might have. True. And therefore they can help to momentarily lift our spirits. But like any good drug, there's usually a side effect, which is that we then can fall off into the hangover, the other side of the drug, which is, oh well, here I am back in the real world again. Time to get back to the grind. But for those of us who want more from those fantasies, those daydreams, do we really have to go back to the real world always? Or can we revisit those fantasies in a way that's actively constructive in helping us to improve the quality of our lives? Can we move forward in a deliberate manner to experience our dreams fulfilled? Is it the case very often that we stop only at the daydream for lack of direction in terms of possibility that the dream can be anything more than just pure fantasy? Could that be possible? What if we could for once see life as a cornucopia of possibility? An existence wherein all possibility already exists. Imagine life for a moment as a forest, and every possibility exists in that forest. But because of the trees, we don't see all of the possibilities at any one time, but we know they're there. Hold that for a moment. That's the cornucopia I'm talking. All possibility is there. All methods, all how-tos, all paths, all ways. How then would we see our wishful thinking dreams? Would they remain as mere daydreams, or would we see them then as clearly possible? Of course we would see them as clearly possible if we'd really see the cornucopia within that forest, metaphorically speaking. It would then become a choice whether or not we actually want the dream. Choice based on the level of desire felt towards the dream, weighed against the cost or the perceived cost of payment into that equation. And when the cost is shadowed by the desire always wins out when we move forward. Is it that when all is seen as possible in potential, there likewise comes the infinite ability for our logical sense to somehow fit our individual / experience effectively and efficiently into the equation of creation in terms of recognizing opportunities? Because when we have ourselves in a certain mindset that all is possible, these opportunities somehow present themselves as a result of our faithful sight on the dream and their possibilities. And therefore, all purposeful action steps towards these dreams fulfilled. Isn't that the case? Have the dream, see the possibility, move forward upon opportunities that present themselves, actions taken, dreams fulfilled. Isn't that the case? With all that we do, even the simplest little things, picking up our shoes in the morning. We had a quick little thought of the shoes, complete faith that we can put them on, took the action, and they're on. Well, anything grander is the same, isn't it? This must be so on all scales, if it's so on any. If it's so for the shoes, how about something much larger? For if we can see a law of attraction or a law of creation for anything, when it is examined, is always constant and never exceptional, we can see that it is always upheld and never plays favorites. Right? Hooray then. Dreams can be deliberately directed. Daydreams, deliberately directed. Thus, we can see the value of dreams in terms of our quality of life. We can simply say that for starters, they're like signposts of the love that we feel in terms of wanting to connect more holistically with what it is that we want. And once again, holistically meaning more completely than just the dream. We want to connect physiologically. We dream about a loved one. We want to actually spend time with them, right? Physically, mentally, go visit them. Emotionally, the spirit of our emotions, whatever you want to call it, more completely than just dreaming. So we want to connect more holistically with those aspects of life, in life, which appeal to us. See, once again, it's appealing. And so long as the cost, the desire is stronger than the cost, we move forward. The manifestation of these overall experiences confirms our innate and infinite creative powers, which I would say are the basis of our being and doing. Because when we recognize that all of our life, our circumstances and our situations, are largely dependent on us as major players in the equation. So we are the creators of our being and our doing, because our doing is our choice. This, I would say, is the huge, huge value in dreams, daydreams we're talking about. They are constantly presented to us, and sure, right? Get little dreams all the time. You're driving along the car, all of a sudden you're in a daydream. Sometimes they're almost subconscious, but we can also consciously embark upon them. And we can choose to willingly participate in them, so that we can use them as starting points to run with, and therefore move on in those other steps to experience more qualities of love in our lives. And by love I mean that overall connection with experiencing what we want in life. It's been nice talking to you again. I hope this has been helpful. Please feel free to chime in and give your input as well. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye for now.